Hi, welcome to James Miller Lifeology, where you learn to simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. My name is James Miller. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a composer. Thank you so much for joining with us today. Let's get started. I really wanted to take a quick second just to thank all of you who continually support and listen to James Miller Lifeology Radio. It has been such an exciting adventure for me. There are so many amazing things that are happening over here that I definitely want to share with you. So for the next few months, every person who signs up for my free newsletter will be entered into a drawing. In this monthly drawing, whomever wins will win a free 30-minute Skype call with me, James Miller. I will help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. So go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and sign up for my free newsletter there. Who knows, maybe you will be the lucky winner. So sign up today. I have a great show for you today. I'm going to remind you that there is power in small investments. I'll also be interviewing Everett Jolly, who's the CEO of Uptick Newswire, as well as the author of Nano Stocks, Big Money Nano-Cap Picks for 2017. He's going to give us inside tips in how to invest in the penny stock market. You don't need a lot of money to invest to create a huge return. I have some exciting news. For those of you who listen to me on the radio, did you know that I'm on the air 3 times a week? You may hear me on the same station on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m., Fridays at 9:30 a.m., and Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Or you can listen to me on all the major podcasting platforms anytime you want, or simply visit jamesmillerlifeology.com. Sign up for my free newsletter and have the episodes emailed directly to you once a week. In 1918, an engineer had a dream to build a dam to produce electricity to help his country. A few years passed and he shared his dream with some of his friends who were also engineers. They then helped him draw up the designs. Today, the Three Gorges Dam is a hydroelectric dam on the Yangtze River in China. In terms of the amount of electricity it generates, it's the world's largest power station. The concrete and steel dam is 1.25 miles long, almost 600 feet high, and uses about 510,000 tons of steel, enough to build the Eiffel Tower 60 times over. From this dam, the reservoir contains about 9.43 cubic miles of water. That water weighs more than 42 billion tons. Due to such heavy weight in one specific area, it is changing the rotation of the Earth, and thus making the days last longer by less than a microsecond. From a small idea and a little bit of time investment, a man literally changed the world. Your investments are no different. Start small, but dream big. The power of small investments. Many times when we want to do something new, we can become overwhelmed before we even start. Sometimes we have the thought of, I can't do that, I don't have enough time for that, or I don't have enough experience, or I don't have enough education. There's always going to be some excuse that we have when we try and make a change at all. Think of yourself when you were a child. The information you know today, you did not know when you were a baby. Then you worked your way up through school, from primary school, and for some people all the way up to university. And the information you learned has helped you become the person you are today. It's really important for each of us to analyze our situations. Did you realize the power of one small thing, how it can literally change your life or even the lives of the people around you? For example, one note of thanks, one smile, one word of encouragement, one act of kindness, one penny, one prayer, one affirmation, one push-up, one small gift. Those small things by themselves really don't take all the time and energy that we think it does. One of the most difficult things is we often think too far ahead. For example, if you want to own your own company or you want to be very wealthy or have a great retirement portfolio, it can be very overwhelming when we think of these types of things because once again, just like that child, we don't have all the information. So when we think too far ahead, we often become defeated before we even start. That's why I always encourage my clients or even my listeners to start small. Starting small does not mean you can't accomplish the big dreams that you have. It just simply means you're creating the foundation for success in your life. When you can implement one new thing you do in your life, each day, each moment, that then creates the foundation for the next step in that journey. Think about a beach. A beach is made up of sand. And so each grain of sand by itself is one small thing. But you put it all together and you have miles and miles of a beach. It's the same type of thing in everything we do. When we find ourselves saying, I don't have time for this, or I can't do this, or this is too overwhelming for me, you have to stop and slow down and look at the smaller things that you can do. And when you recognize that, it's doable. There's one thing you can do right this second. So today's lesson and today's challenge is to really help you focus on that. When your self-talk says you can't do something different, or you don't have time for this, or you don't have enough money, then you're thinking too far ahead. I have a really great guest today. His name's Everett Jolly, and he is going to talk to us about penny stocks. I haven't had a guest like this before, so I'm excited to have him on my show today and talk about his amazing book, but it will also help you see how this lesson is applicable even in his industry. When we think we don't have enough information or enough money or not enough knowledge, we simply start small. So when he talks with you about penny stocks today, really keep that in mind. Even making money for yourself, you don't need a lot to have a big return. So these small investments create the foundation for a huge reward. Did you know that I have a YouTube channel? That's actually how Lifeology started. I have well over 150 episodes that I've created specifically for you. I do know many people struggle with listening to a full 30-minute show, so these YouTube episodes are about 3 minutes long. Each episode teaches you one simple lesson that you can practice daily, which will help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. Simply go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and subscribe to my YouTube channel there, or go to youtube.com and search for my name, James Miller Lifeology. Everett Jolly is a founder and CEO of Uptick Newswire, an in-house press release company that lends transparency to the nano-micro-cap penny stock market. Uptick Newswire is the fastest growing media outlet for the nano-cap and micro-cap companies. Everett Jolly is also an author. His latest title, Nano Stocks, Big Money Nano-Cap Picks for 2017, is a book aims to educate investors about how to make the best decisions for their portfolio. Welcome to my show, Everett.
Thanks, James. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yes, definitely. You know, you are a different type of guest that I usually have, and I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be wonderful for my Lifeology listeners to be able to have an expansive viewpoint. Usually I have more self-development individuals, but I really believe that obviously the financial component of all of our lives really helps us grow and develop in so many ways and allows for wonderful things. So I think you're going to be a wonderful expert to share your advice, to help us understand how we can be more successful in the financial arena. So it's going to be great to hear all the wonderful things that are happening on your end over there.
Absolutely. You know, when I was getting involved in stocks back in the late 80s, I'm in my 50s right now. A lot of people became multimillionaires and millionaires on the dot-com business.
Yes.
As we all know, that came and went and passed, and a lot of it crashed. Warren Buffett didn't get involved in any dot-com businesses because he didn't understand the metrics or the business model. Mm-hmm. Well, today, your millennials have that opportunity today. And that's in the marijuana publicly traded companies. Mm-hmm. Stocks are going anywhere from 1 cent to $1. These companies are going to go up 2,000, 3,000, 4,000% in the next 5 to 7 years.
Oh my gosh. Well, I guess it would make sense, obviously, because different states are now making it more legal, and the need and the demand are great as well. So that would make sense. Yeah.
And so some of the stocks that we cover, there's about 150 publicly traded OTC market marijuana stocks. We cover probably about 2/3 of those that I feel have real revenues already, have a real business model, and have a roadmap of where they're going.
That's wonderful. How about let's stop for 1 second, because I want my listeners to know a little bit more about you, and then they'll be able to understand really where you're navigating through this with your book and all the amazing things that you guys are doing. Help us understand, when did you get into stocks yourself?
Well, it's really funny that you asked that question because I got involved in 1987, February, and I was 24 years old. And like I said, I'm in my 50s now. And as you know, October of 1987 was one of the biggest crashes in the market, and I lost everything.
Oh my gosh.
And I had a broker. And I guess that's why they call them brokers, because they get you more brokers.
That's funny.
and so at that time, I said, you know what? This is going to be my life passion. Sure. I'm going to learn everything about the market. I'm going to be the captain of my own ship, and I'm not going to put the onus or the blame on anybody but myself.
Have you noticed
that?
That's awesome. Have you noticed that most people who are really successful, they end up striking out on their own, and they've tried it the traditional way, and then if it didn't work out, those people who are really more tenacious, they're like, I'm going to do this on my own, and they research it, they study it, and then they become the expert, and then they later are able to really train and teach the people who are coming in the next generation. So that's great. It's wonderful that you're able to really find your passion in that moment.
Yeah, I tell people, they say, well, what kind of education? Well, I only went to university for 1 year, but I spent over $200,000 on my education in the markets and trial and error. Yeah. So I've learned a lot over almost 30 years. Actually, it was little bit over 30 years.
And that's pretty much how much tuition costs nowadays anyway. So
Right.
it makes a lot of sense. So I want to ask you this, when your book itself that's coming out, Nano Stocks, Big Money, Nano-Cap Picks for 2017, why did you specifically focus on this part of the stock industry?
Well, my book is out. It's been out now for a couple of months. And the reason why I picked Nano Stocks, for a couple of reasons. One, I think the growth is still there. There's approximately over 9,600 OTC companies. And to be honest with you, James, that out of the 9,600, probably only 2,000 or 3,000 are legitimate companies. The rest are, fluff and shell companies and really just, you've heard the bad names about, scamming and pumping and dumping. So in my book, there was 1,000 stocks on my radar. And out of that 1,000 stocks, I went back and looked at their financials. I looked at their roadmaps. I looked at their press releases. And out of the 1,000, I picked 80 stocks to go in my book. And a lot of those stocks right now in my book that I picked at the end of the year of 2016, some of them are up already 400, 500%.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, how did you go from 1,000 to 80? What was the cutoff for you?
Well, I looked at their metrics of where they started out on income and where they were trending. And I wanted revenues to keep going up. And, and those are the kind of companies I was looking for, even though maybe a lot of them weren't cash positive, but I saw revenues growing. And when you're in a small company, even I can tell you some of the biggest companies had the problem, even Facebook. When they first started out there in Silicon Valley, if you watched the movie or watched it, they had a tremendous problem with positive cash flow. It wasn't for years and years and years until they became positive cash flow. But the revenues were growing, and that's what I look at.
Oh, and well, especially if you obviously you know what you're talking about. If some of these other companies have already been 400% in their profit, I mean that's amazing. Small cap
companies have outperformed the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones for the last, I think, 12 years.
Wow. Some of my listeners may hear you've said the term earlier. You said OTC companies. Do you want to share what OTC is for those listeners who don't yet know what that is?
Yeah, that's over the counter. And there's three types of it. It's the OTC pinks, if you will, which the parameters of what they have to justify is minuscule. So they don't have to give you audit financials. They could give you unaudit financials. They could be, not telling the truth so much. And then the next one is the OTC QB. And then the next one after that is the OTC QX. And so as you go higher up in stature, you have to meet certain criteria through FINRA and the SEC. And what they're saying is you're more of a viable company than the companies that are on the pink sheet.
So in other words, the more credentials you have, if you will, to speak in layman's terms, the more
Absolutely.
success you have. Okay, that makes sense because you've been vetted more often and you have that accountability. Yeah. Okay. Some of the things, it's interesting because I'm thinking back on my own investments, my years or whatever of investments. But I remember I had invested in quite a few penny stocks as well. And I read up on these people like, oh yeah, this would be the next best thing. And it did not work. Yeah. And so with that, what advice would you give for individuals who, maybe randomly are spammed, about all these different penny stocks and it seems so great, the small investment and it's the return that they're supposed to get. What advice would you specifically give them who may have been disillusioned by the opportunity to invest in small penny stocks or just penny stocks in general and then having such a negative return?
You make a very good point and you bring up a very good point. First of all, I wouldn't buy a stock that somebody sent me an email because most of those are pump and dumps. And yes, they're going to go up, but you go back there 2 weeks later, it's going to be a lot lower than what you bought it for.
Sure.
So I believe every American, doesn't matter if they're 21 years old or 75, should have what's called maverick money. That's what built this country, mavericks.
I like that.
And so you should take maybe about 10% of what you have. And the one thing I like about penny stocks, and I try to tell my students this, you can start off with $1,000. Okay, you really don't need any more than that. But what you need is what I call the 5 bucket approach. and you're gonna buy 5 stocks around 200, or you can buy 4 stocks around $250, and 1 or 2 of those, James, are going to crash and burn. But the other 2 are going to be anywhere 2 multipliers, 4 multipliers, wow, 8 multipliers, and they're going to be greater than the ones that. But getting to back to your point, you just can't put all your eggs in one basket. You got to do a 5-bucket approach.
I like that, because that definitely makes sense, because you look at the statistics in general. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Not everything's going to be 100%. So I like to have the more variables or options you have. One of those is going to pan out.
One of the biggest problems that people lose their money in penny stocks is the word liquidity, and that simply equals volume. You don't want to get into a penny stock that there's no volume, because if you buy the stock, that's great. But now that it went up and you want to sell and there's nobody on the other side to buy it, you're stuck.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to go to the otcmarkets.com. You can read all the press releases there, or you can come to upticknewswire.com. That's my site. I interview personally myself. Last year, about 300 to 400 CEOs on the OTC market came on my show, Stock Day Radio. And, we give the skinny. We're out there because, let's face it, these small penny stocks, they're not getting invited on CNBC.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting invited on Fox News. So they have no way to take their story and tell it until Uptick Newswire came along.
Wow. And that's amazing. And you guys have now been in publication for 4 years now?
Yes.
Well, I think this is a wonderful segue into it, because I know you were telling me you have a huge event that's happening in November. I would love for you to tell my listeners about.
Yeah, absolutely. We're probably the first company that's going to go out and recognize the CEO of the year, the biggest turnaround companies on the OTC markets. Again, there's 9,600 of these companies on there. And so we secured a venue at the Flamingo in Las Vegas on November the 3rd. We're going to have about a 3-hour mixer where everybody, accredited investors, can meet and talk with CEOs. And then if you're an individual, if you're interested, you can, call my office. But then after that, we're going to have the award show from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. We're going to, vote for the best marijuana company, the best CEO, the best turnaround story. There's going to be about 17, 18 awards given out that night.
Wow, this is like a really big event.
It is.
Now, is that something where people can maybe stream it, or is this more of a closed event?
You bring up a great point. I haven't thought about streaming it, but I will take that under consideration.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very good. I'm glad to hear that. Now, so tell my listeners more about Uptick itself. What specifically is Uptick? What do you do? How can they be a part of this? How can they kind of understand what it is you do so they can really learn from it as well?
Absolutely. As I said earlier, I think every American should be involved in penny stocks, and have some sort of maverick money and do a 5-bucket approach. And what we do, I think, better than anybody else there, and we're on the cutting edge, and I think we're a disruptor in this particular industry, is that every day there's CEOs coming on our show. Every day you can come to our website, upticknewswire.com, and listen to those interviews. You can also listen to them on Investors Hangout, Audio Boom. We're on iHeartRadio. And what gives them that advantage, if you will, is that we talk about companies. They can listen to the CEO. They can reach out to the CEO. Let me ask you, how often do you think if you call IBM that the CEO of IBM is going to pick up and talk to you?
Sure. Of course. Yeah, that's
probably not too many times. But when you have the OTC markets, they usually have anywhere from the CFO, the CEO, maybe 4 or 5 workers. You can reach out and you can talk to this guy and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying your stock. Can you give me some reasons why I would? Can there's some information that I can find out about your company, previous press releases? And so it gives them a little bit more direct contact, if you will.
Yes, it makes it much more relatable as well. Okay, yeah, so they have that information. They do have that, I guess, if you will, you're the go-between person that can really offer that information for them.
Absolutely.
And so not only is you're on podcasting, you're on, what else are you on? What other publications?
Well, like I said, we streamlined it out on iHeartRadio. Audio Boom, Investors Hangout. We get picked up by Google News.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, yeah, as a matter of fact, it took us 2.5 years to be a legitimate source for Google. So we're really proud of that.
Oh, you should be.
What Google is saying that, hey, we've been tracking Uptick Newswire for a couple of years, and what they say, they don't blow it up, they don't blow it down, they give you the facts, and they're an honorable source of news related in the small nano cap and micro cap publicly traded companies.
Wow, congratulations. That's absolutely wonderful. And then people can definitely get, and we'll at the end of this conversation, we're definitely going to get the information where they can maybe sign up for your newsletter as well. Your company has so many resources for the layperson, or the person who doesn't know what they're doing per se. How do you also offer maybe consultation of some sorts with individuals who may have more questions that you can probably link them together with maybe the more appropriate stock?
It's so funny that you bring that up, James. I thought that I was going to be, and I'm still hoping that I am going to start it in the fourth quarter of this year. I'm going to do a 20-city seminar. And my quest and my passion is to educate people about how to make money in the penny stocks. Where is the gold? Where's the gold, Everett? Yeah.
Wow.
And so I've made a lot of mistakes. As I said, my $200,000 training, I've talked to CEOs that tell me, hey, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And it never does come to fruition.
Yeah.
And so that's why I tell you, out of 5 buckets, 2 of them are going to crash and burn.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that right now.
And I think that's really good when you normalize that, and when people don't expect that, then it's not like, oh my gosh, once again, like we said at the very, very beginning, that's why so many people are disillusioned or so frustrated, is because they don't expect that. Sometimes people's expectancy levels are way higher than what the average is. And so therefore they are going to walk away and say, this does not work for me.
Yes. So I think that coming October, I'm hoping the first week of October, we're going to be doing the seminars, and then we're really going to launch that off in the beginning of the first quarter in 2018.
Oh, okay. Wow. So this is really right around the corner for you then.
Yes.
A lot of amazing things are happening for you guys as you're doing, just really launching out and taking over. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're trying to be actually a little bitty mini Bloomberg for the OTC markets. Even though, I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of interviews with CEOs. Later on this year, I believe in the end of the second quarter, beginning of the third quarter, we're going to go from audio to visual. We're actually going to have live videos interviewing the CEOs and everything like that.
Oh, that's great. So that'll be connected with your podcast as well. You're going to take it into the different market that way?
Absolutely.
Perfect. That sounds amazing. That's really good. Now, are you going to be writing other books as well? Anything in the pipeline for you?
Well, they want me to write another book in 2018, and I don't know if I'm going to have time for that.
Sounds like you're quite busy.
Seminars, but there's talk, and it's in the pipeline, possibly.
That's amazing, and obviously you're very, very credible. You're very reputable, and I'm sure helped so many people overcome their own perhaps stigma, their own insecurities about penny stocks, and are able to really help them perhaps even start their own fortune.
It's amazing that I answered the phone, and I don't usually answer the phone around here, but I answered the phone, and this one guy said, I'm talking to Everett Jolly. Oh, my God. Sir, you have made me so much money. He goes, you have made my day. He goes, I listen to every one of your podcasts. When you recommend a stock, I pick it up. This is just a pleasure.
Wow.
And I was kind of like, wow, I didn't even know that even exists. I'm just a regular guy who ties his shoes. And, I don't call every one of them right. Neither does Jim Cramer.
Sure, of course.
But, it's out there that we're swinging the bat. And I am telling millennials today, if you want to be wealthy, first of all, you got to have multiple streams of income coming into your household. Second of all, you got to live underneath your means, I've seen guys making $80,000. I've seen guys making $80,000 a year, living a $120,000 lifestyle.
Yes.
And one of the seminars, I'm going to show parents how a 13-year-old can have perfect credit when they come out of high school.
Wow, that's perfect. I mean, because
I know that for a fact because I did it for my son.
Wow.
He bought his first house when he was 22 223.
That's amazing.
And he came over to the house and said, "Hey, Dad, they read my credit report." And he goes, "You won't guess what my FICO score is." I go, "I don't know, 720." He goes, "It's 814.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing! Wow. So, like I said, I mean, and the whole gamut there. You sounds like you're an amazing person. I definitely want my listeners to follow you on their podcasts, to really follow Uptick Newswire. And to really obviously buy your book, the Nano Stocks Big Money Nano-Cap Picks for 2017. Specifically with that book, where would they be able to purchase that book?
Amazon.com.
Wonderful. So what I'm going to do, Everett, is I'm also going to put that on my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com. And if my listeners aren't able to find it on Amazon, simply go to my website. Once again, that's jamesmillerlifeology.com, and go to my store, and you can see Everett's book there as well.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on my show today. Now, if my listeners would like to follow Uptick Newswire, where would they find that information online?
They can go to upticknewswire.com.
Excellent. And then the podcast, it's on all podcasting platforms as well?
And it's on our website also.
Perfect. That's even better. Wonderful. Well, Everett, thank you so much once again for being a guest. I know I've actually learned quite a bit about this, so I'm looking forward to reading your book as well.
James, the pleasure was mine, and I really do appreciate you inviting me on the show.
I also want to thank you, my listener, for joining with me today. Please subscribe to this radio show through whichever portal you joined with me. Also, please go to my website where you may sign up for my newsletter, enroll in the Lifeology Academy, watch my YouTube episodes, and read all the articles I've written just for you. If you'd like to become a guest or advertise on my show, simply visit jamesmillerlifeology.com. You may also follow me on all social media platforms under the name James Miller Lifeology, except for Twitter, which is James M. Lifeology. Have a fantastic day, and I look forward to speaking with you very soon.